Welcome to the Alison podcast, where high-achieving women elevate their identity, expand what's possible, and create a life of true abundance. I'm Alison Howard. Let's dive in. Hey friends, welcome back. Today I want to talk about how to level up fast. This is the power of embodiment, and that is the fastest way to level up. By the time you're listening to this, we're likely past the initial excitement of the new year. The goals have been set. I bet the intentions were strong, and for a lot of you, the momentum may be starting to wane. And it's not because you don't want this change in your life. It's not because you aren't capable of changing your life, because motivation alone doesn't sustain transformation. So today I want to talk to you about the fastest way that I know to create real lasting change in your life. And it has nothing to do with doing more or trying harder or fixing yourself. That is the good news. Like I said before, it's all about embodiment, because the truth is that you don't manifest what you want, you manifest who you are being. And if you've ever wondered, well, how do some people seem to level up quickly while others just stay stuck for years? This episode is going to answer that. Let's talk about why most people level up the slow way. Fun, right? Let's go there. Most women approach change from the outside in. They think if I hit the goal, I'll feel confident. If the money comes, then I'm going to feel safe. I'll relax. If the milestone is reached, then I'm going to finally feel like I've arrived. And so they focus on actions. They focus on strategies. They focus on plans. And those things matter. Believe me, I love strategy. I love action. I work with my clients on those things, but it is aligned action. And it's not where transformation begins. Because if your identity hasn't shifted, if it hasn't caught up, then every level up feels unnatural. So you might get results for a while based on pure action, but you're not going to be able to sustain that or hold it. You will definitely feel a ceiling. And it comes usually as burnout, because you just think I have to work more. I've lived this, so I know this. There were seasons where I achieved things that I thought that I wanted, but internally the cost was so high. I felt so anxious and I was ungrounded. I was unsure, not because the goal was wrong, but because the version of me who was trying to hold all of that hadn't been developed yet. I was not embodying the person that I wanted to be, who I needed to be in order to have the capacity for that. So let's talk about what embodiment actually means. Embodiment is a very simple concept. People overcomplicate this. There's just so much online. There's so much on Instagram and so many YouTube videos, but this is not difficult. It's a very simple concept, but it's a very powerful concept too. And essentially, embodiment means this: you begin being the woman who is naturally living the life that you want before the evidence has shown up. So this is not about pretending. It's not about forcing. It's not about performing, but it's about allowing your inner world to match your desired outer world, even though you can't see it yet. This is where I will see it once I believe it comes into play. We have been taught and conditioned to embrace, okay, when I see it, I'll believe it. No, you need to believe it first and then you're going to see it. So you need to ask yourself, how does that version of you think? How does that version of you make decisions? How does that version of you relate to time and money? How does that version of you relate to herself and other people? When embodiment happens, your actions change automatically, not through willpower, but through alignment. This is why embodiment is the fastest path, hands down. You don't have to motivate yourself to act like who you already believe that you are. And that's why it works so well every single time. So I'll share a little story from my lived experience, okay? And there was a point in my life where I realized I was constantly asking myself, okay, what do I need to do next in my business? And yet the more that I did, the more disconnected that I felt. What finally shifted things for me wasn't a new strategy, it was an honest question. What do I need for this version of my life to feel normal, the one that I'm wanting to create? Who do I need to be? So at this time, I had owned my business it was my first business. I had owned it for 3 years. I was 28 years old at the time. I had 3 kids and little toddlers and babies. And I owned a wedding planning company in Southern California. And I wanted to move into luxury weddings. I wanted to be working at the best venues in Southern California with the best designers and the best florists and the best chefs. I really wanted to create beautiful events. And I wanted to work with the best clients too, who felt very, very aligned. And so what I did is I looked at where I was, and business was not booming. I was not doing the type of work that I knew that I was capable of doing. I was not ascending to the level that I knew that I was called to. And so I wrote down who she was. Who was the version of myself that was doing the things I wanted to do? And I got very detailed. What time was she waking up? What was she eating? What did her fitness routine look like? How much time was she spending at home with her kids? How much time was she spending on the road? What was she doing to differentiate herself from the competition? That is when I started a YouTube channel. And that was my first YouTube. And I used my personality as my platform in business. I started speaking all over the country. But what really was like the pivotal moment is I decided that this luxury wedding planner didn't roll up to high level meetings in her minivan. And don't get me wrong, I loved my minivan. I was the first friend in my group who had a minivan. So I decided I wanted to roll up in a Mercedes. And so I went and got a Mercedes. A brand new Mercedes, a white, beautiful, brand new Mercedes, because that is what she drove. I made that decision before I saw the external proof that I was going to be successful. Now, I mean, I could afford the car. It was a little bit of a stretch at a time, but I knew how I wanted to feel in certain environments when I was driving up to VIP events, when I was meeting with certain types of clients. And doing that, coupled with my YouTube channel, coupled with how I started living my day to day life, everything grew quickly. Time collapsed. I started to embody her, and it just felt normal. I trusted myself. I stopped over explaining. I felt safe receiving more. I was making more money than I ever had in my life. I stopped pushing so hard. But when I embodied that version of myself, everything else reflected it back to me. I was a woman who valued her own energy. I stopped making decisions from urgency. Of course, nothing external changed overnight, but everything internal shifted, and eventually everything did change very quickly. The external followed just naturally because I was being her. So, this is why embodiment works so fast. Embodiment works because the nervous system does not respond to our goals necessarily. Our nervous system responds to identity and safety, what we believe to be true about ourselves and how we feel most safe. So, when your body feels like the next level is unsafe, it's going to slow you down. It's going to create some doubt and some resistance. You're just not going to feel sure. You're going to question everything. But when your body recognizes the next level is normal, movement becomes easy. And this is why trying to force results often backfires. You're just trying to leap ahead of your identity. So, embodiment is what is actually going to close that gap. It makes growth feel familiar instead of threatening. So here's a simple way to work with this. Instead of asking, what do I need to do to get there? Right? You have your goal in mind. For me, for example, when I owned that business, I was a novice wedding planner. I'd been doing it for 3 years at the time. And I knew after doing, probably by that point, I had done 30 weddings. What do I need to do to get to that next level version? I was asking myself that constantly. Instead, I want you to ask yourself this: who would I need to be for that life to exist naturally? And then look at all of the areas that I mentioned before. So, what does your decision making look like? What do your routines look like? What do your boundaries look like? What is your self trust? What level are you at with your own self trust? What are your standards? Your next level self isn't going to be rushed. She isn't going to have to overprove herself and her worth. She's not going to abandon herself so that she feels chosen. So, really, you want to identify how your next level self can move from this grounded certainty. You want it to feel absolutely natural to elevate into that next level. And the more often that you choose from that posture, from that place, the faster the embodiment happens. And embodiment is practiced in small moments. So this isn't going to be some grandiose thing that you're doing. I want you to know that this is really important. People think that they have to make these huge, big things like buying a car. You don't need to do that. That's what I did. I was able to do that financially in the position that I was in. Embodiment isn't something that you switch on overnight. It's practiced in micro moments. So, in the moments where you pause instead of react, in the moments that you choose to rest, to just take a little rest without having any guilt about it, or saying no to something that you don't want to do without giving an explanation. Did you know that not everybody needs an explanation as to why you can't attend that thing or why you can't help out with that thing? You can just say no sometimes. That's okay. Also, letting yourself receive God's blessings without deflection. Every small choice teaches your system who you are now and what you are worthy of. And identity forms through repetition. Okay? So, if you're listening to this near the end of February, and if you're listening to this anytime, it's the perfect time. But if you're listening to this near the end of February and you're feeling a little bit of discouragement, I want you to hear me, okay? You are not behind. This is actually, statistically, when real change begins. So the hype of the new year hasn't faded, okay? Really, what is coming to the surface is just truth. Who are you actually being when nobody's watching? What is your character? What is your integrity? Who are you actually being when no one is watching, right? We want to be congruent. That's where embodiment happens. So even though you may not see external results in your life or business of the things that you see behind your eyes, the things that you're dreaming and praying about, when you start operating as the person who already has the blessing, whose prayers have already been answered, that's where the embodiment happens. And that's where fast, sustainable leveling up begins. So, if this conversation is resonating with you, if you can feel that you're ready to stop chasing goals and start becoming the woman who naturally lives them, I want to invite you to join me live at my next 3-day live event on Zoom. This experience is designed to help you identify your next level self. That's important. You got to know what you want, what those goals are. Embody her safely and consistently and create results without force or burnout. And you're going to find the registration link in the show notes. I would love to support you there. But I want to leave you with this. You don't level up by chasing outcomes. This is not about the chase. You level up by becoming the woman for whom those outcomes are just normal. So I want you to ask yourself today, who do I need to be so that that iteration of you feels natural, and begin there. And let me know in the comments. I would love to know what you're going to be shifting in your life, how you're going to step into the identity of your next level self. Now, go be the woman. Really, go be the woman your future is waiting on. I will see you all next time. Talk to you next time. Be blessed.